Look at Trump. I think he got a new like spray tan person because he's looking a lot less orange to me. He's looking more like a natural tan. Y'all let me know. Is he looking too orange?
Moments ago, the Supreme Court denied Trump's application to halt a sentencing in that New York hush money case, which now will happen, the sentencing tomorrow.
When you get sentenced, you have an option to say something, right?
You just hit on what the biggest point is going to be to watch for tomorrow. Any defendant at sentencing absolutely has a right to speak. Almost always they do. So Trump might say, I have nothing to say, Your Honor, or he might give us
something. And they ought to find out what that's all about. And this is a long way from finished. Limping along, we've had a lot of lawfare. These are all people that understand what's going on here very badly. This was an attack on the Republican Party. This was an attack on the Republican candidate who just won an election by record numbers, the highest number of Republican votes by far ever gotten.
The judge should be disbarred. Holy cow, guys. Breaking news. The Supreme Court just denied Donald Trump's bid to halt sentencing in the New York City hush money case. This is the SCOTUS, guys. The Supreme Court of the United States has made a decision, and all hell could very well break loose as of tomorrow. Let's jump in.
President Trump, just a few minutes ago, the Supreme Court ruled that they are not going to slow down the sentencing. It's on for tomorrow. Now what?
Well, they called for an appeal, and as you know, they acknowledged what the judge said about no penalty, and there's no penalty. But we're going to appeal anyway, just psychologically, because frankly, it's a disgrace. It's a judge that shouldn't have been on the case. He's a highly conflicted judge, and they called for an appeal. So I read it, and I thought it was a fair decision, actually. So I'll do my little thing tomorrow. They can have fun with their political opponent. As you know, I'm under a gag order from a judge. This is the first. This was an attack of a political opponent. And if you take a look at it, I'm not supposed to be talking about it, so I won't. I'm the first president and probably one of the first candidates in history that's under attack with a gag order.
Can you believe this, guys? Like, this is crazy. They're not dropping this. They're not dropping this. This is an ongoing witch hunt against former President-elect Donald Trump, soon to be President Donald Trump. Is crazy. But this is just the beginning. In fact, tomorrow is going to be a real game changer. By the way, guys, if you're just now joining live, thank you so much for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Drop a quick yes if you guys are able to see and hear me okay. I hope that this mic is connected. Had some issues earlier.
You know what's maybe ironic about it? Trump actually gets a benefit by being sentenced tomorrow, which is once that sentencing is over, as of tomorrow morning, then he can take his full appeals. He can go up the New York courts of appeals. He can go maybe to the U.S. Supreme Court and say the charge against me was unconstitutional, which I think it may be. He can say that the jury was not properly instructed. But if he had gotten his way, if he was not sentenced tomorrow, he would not have been able to appeal. That would have been it. So this sentence would have sort of died in netherworld.
Well, and part of their argument had been that it was going to be too tough for him
This
to get sentenced.
is just so unfair, guys. Like, I mean, tell me if I'm off base. Does it just seem like this is entirely unfair? Like, I mean, I really, there's no way to know for sure. I don't have this is not Back to the Future. I'm not Michael J. Fox, where I could just hop in the DeLorean and go back in time to see, well, what would have happened if Trump never, ran for president? Would any of these charges have ever been brought against him? But this just seems entirely unfair. President-elect Donald Trump can be sentenced as early as tomorrow in his New York hush money trial. The case, the Supreme Court said in a 5-4 ruling. So, number one, this is a very close call. This wasn't some unanimous SCOTUS decision. 5-4. One of the judges was really able to make the defining moment here to put forth to deny this. To deny this here from the Supreme Court. Now, the High Court on Thursday rejected Donald Trump's emergency request in order to delay the proceedings, setting the stage for him to be sentenced just days before his inauguration on January 20th for a second term. Now, check this out, guys. Pay attention to these names. 4 conservative justices, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh. They said that they would have granted Trump's request. Okay. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett joined the court's 3 liberals to side against Trump. Now, Judge Juan Merchan, the New York City judge who oversaw Trump's trial, had ordered sentencing in the case for Friday morning, but had signaled that Trump will face neither penalties nor prison time, right? But here's the thing. This judge should never have even been on the case. This is already proven. So we need to get first of all, we need to get to the other side of this thing. We need to get to the other side of this thing because apparently he really can't even appeal until after the sentencing, which is a whole lot of dog and pony show stuff going on here. But check this out. In a brief 1-paragraph statement, the court said that some of Trump's concerns could be handled in the ordinary course of appeal. The court also reasoned that the burden sentencing would impose on Trump's responsibilities and is relatively insubstantial in light of the court's stated intent to impose no penalty. Guys, this is a formality, but they're trying to drag this thing out here. And I think I think more than anything, Judge Juan Merchan wants his name in the history books. He wants to be remembered. Call it narcissism, call it what you want, but that's my thought on that one.
Moments ago, the Supreme Court denied Trump's application to halt a sentencing in that New York hush money case, which now will happen, the sentencing tomorrow. For reaction to this, Jonathan Turley, George Washington University law prof, and Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor, both Fox News contributors. Professor Turley, let's start with you. Look, the court doesn't like to intervene in what may be considered political matters. Your take on this, then I'll tell you what I think the court should have done.
Well, this is what some of us predicted when the appeals just began. Merchan really played this perfectly, and I say that not as a compliment.
I was going to say, because I took what he just said as a compliment to Juan Merchan.
He knew that he was giving President-elect Trump very little runway by which to take an appeal off. He also knew that appellate courts generally prefer for sentences to be finalized, to review the case as a whole. And he played those 2 cards to guarantee that he'll be able to sentence President Trump tomorrow. And when that occurs,
this is going to be crazy, guys. Yo, wait till tomorrow. Man, the live videos tomorrow are going to go wild in New York City. I'm telling you, watch.
In many ways, he's going to create the ultimate mandate for President Trump. He will have established with finality the effect of lawfare on our political system. So President Trump will go in, as many on the left want him to go in, as a convicted felon. But for many people in this country, he will also go in as someone who was the victim of lawfare. You know, this was the most outrageous of the cases. It was built on not a novel, but an unprecedented theory.
Guys, I mean, how many of you guys are pissed off about this, right? We got California wildfires just burning down the Palisades, Hollywood, and, the entire West Coast. And we have bigger fish to fry. And instead of Donald Trump being able to focus his team on preparing for the inauguration and coming into office as quickly as possible and hitting the ground running, we got to deal with this nonsense. Like this is nothing more than a distraction. And I think it's clear beyond the shadow of a doubt that they're panicking and that this is all by design.
One that even the Democratic senator from New Jersey recently called BS. I mean, said that it was completely invalid.
A Democratic
and that's
senator.
The mandate that he will give this president going into office.
How many of y'all think Judge Juan Merchan in New York should be disbarred and should lose his job? Let me know, guys.
We'll get to Charlie in just a second. When you look at this, though, one of the justifications for not granting the application for this stay was that it wasn't a real inconvenience to the presidency. because, the judge had indicated there's not going to be a jail time. It'll be there, but it won't be, really inhibiting his work as president.
This is so ridiculous.
Four justices disagreed with that. And the only one who didn't, who was one of the Republican nominees, is Amy Coney Barrett. Of course, John Roberts, the other one. But Amy Coney Barrett voted with the majority. So there were a core four who believed that this was significant enough to say, not pulling this nonsense.
But then again, it also makes you wonder. It's like, but yeah, sure, there's the core four that voted against it. But what about the five that voted for it? Like, it brings into question the decision-making capacity of the Supreme Court, right? You got five people on the Supreme Court. Like, this is the highest court in the land where you're supposed to be able to, if you didn't get, if you didn't get justice anywhere else, you should be able to get justice from the Supreme Court, right? And these folks shot down Donald Trump's request.
That's right. And the division on that court really does reflect how troubling the case is overall. That this trial level judge has done in Manhattan is to.
Okay, so I talked about this a little while ago. I said that this judge was not even qualified to be the judge. Judge Juan Merchan should never have presided over the case. And Jonathan Turley just called it out. He's a trial judge. He's not even the type of judge. He doesn't even have the title of the proper judge that should have presided over Donald Trump's illegitimate case from the get-go.
Hold a presidential candidate first, now a president-elect, to his courtroom on a short leash. This is the same judge that gagged the leading candidate for president in a campaign where his case was one of the issues of most concern with voters.
Keep in mind, guys, the gag order is originally designed to protect the defendant. They didn't protect the defendant. They protected the prosecution, DA Alvin Bragg. They stripped Donald Trump essentially of basically all of his legal rights, if you ask me.
It obviously is an equal concern among at least four justices.
Yeah, Charlie, look, on this case, I think it's such a travesty. It's one of those extraordinary cases where, allowing the process to go forward in normal course to the appellate. We have serious problems facing this country. President Trump doesn't need one more thing to deal with. That's my view. And I think those justices
That's exactly what I was saying.
For what it was in the dissent. And unfortunately, there are five who, disagreed. But, look, I guess it was a close call, according to Professor Turley.
I mean, it was a close call, 5-4, but it doesn't mean it was a good call.
It's an important point, and certainly the point that I think every American, whether you voted for Donald Trump or not, if you're part of that 59-60% of Americans who are express to pollsters that they're hopeful that we can sort of move in a positive direction, they're like, wait a minute, we got all these problems. This is not anywhere in the list of problems that I have. And then, of course, in this particular case, as Professor Turley just pointed out, the real damage here was letting the case go forward in the first place. That's
Bingo. Thank you. Where has the logic been this whole time, right? And the bigger issue here is look at the traitor, Amy Coney Barrett, siding with the liberal SCOTUS and declining to halt Trump's sentencing in New York. Didn't Trump put Amy Coney Barrett in that position to even be on the Supreme Court? Like, come on. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Like, I don't even understand how they came to this conclusion. Like, is anybody out here pissed? If you're pissed out here, please hit the 1. If you think that this was fair, please type in the number 2, because this don't make no sense, guys. Oh, wow. And this came from Donald Trump's this is not Truth Social. This is on X from Donald J. Trump. So I have never falsified business records. It is a fake, made up charge by a corrupt judge who is just doing the work of the Biden-Harris Justice Department, an attack on their political opponent, me. He created a case where there was none. Keeps a gag order on me so that I can't talk about how crooked he is. The fake news knows all about it, but they refuse to talk. He may be the most conflicted judge in the New York history. The accountant testified with total corroboration, and the records were perfect and totally above board. A legal expense was called on the books a legal expense. There was nothing else that it could have been called. This was the so-called falsifying of records. Again, keep in mind, guys, this is Trump's post, okay? And he normally writes his own stuff here. He referred to himself here as me, so I'm pretty sure that he typed this up. And this was the so-called falsifying of records. I was hiding nothing. Everything was out in the open for all to see. Every legal scholar of note said that there is no case against me. And he circled this part. Well, someone did. The judge should be disbarred. This is why people and the, I don't know what it's saying, companies are fleeing New York, a corrupt court system. In another crooked New York case, another corrupt judge overturned 5 times on my case alone. And the most overturned judge in New York valued Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida at $18 million when it was worth 50 to 100 times that amount. Then we have also in New York, the woman I never met, celebrity photo lines from 30 years ago don't count, who was awarded almost $100 million. A totally out of control Trump-hating judge presided. The Biden-Harris DOJ was involved directly or indirectly in each of these cases. I won against deranged Jack Smith. Man, can you feel the heat off that message? Can you feel the heat? Like, Donald Trump went in on this one here, guys. He went in. President Trump asked the Supreme Court, SCOTUS, to halt the proceedings in the New York City hush money sentencing case. And guys, by the way, there's a winter storm coming in, hitting the southeast. I hope you guys are ready. I'm not sure where you guys are watching from. Let me know where you guys are watching from, and let me know if you're expecting snow. We are expecting snow here. I don't think it's going to get too crazy, but it's definitely in the teens in terms of temperature, and it is freezing out there. I hope you guys are keeping warm, but this is wild, guys. So this is going to happen in a matter of hours. I'm releasing this video. It is literally almost 2 a.m. And this is crazy, guys. This is nuts.
This is alert and some additional breaking news. Just moments ago, President-elect Trump's legal team filing an emergency petition to the Supreme Court, asking the justices to stop his sentencing on Friday in his New York criminal case by Judge Juan Merchan. A Trump spokesman says any sentencing would be unconstitutional and violates the will of the American people after they elected Trump.
Oh, wow. Check this out. So I appreciate the time and effort of the United States Supreme Court in trying to remedy the great injustice done to me by the highly conflicted acting justice. Acting, keyword acting. That sounds like a fake justice, right? Who should not have been allowed to try this case. Every legal scholar stated unequivocally, this is a case that should never have been brought. There was no case against me. In other words, I am innocent of all of the judge's made up fake charges. This was nothing other than weaponization of our justice system against a political opponent. It's called lawfare, and nothing like this has ever happened in the United States of America, and it should never be allowed to happen again. To this day, this highly political and corrupt judge has put a gag order on me, which takes away my First Amendment right to speak about very important aspects of this case. For the sake and sanctity of the presidency, I will be appealing this case, and I am confident that justice will prevail. The pathetic, dying remnants of the witch hunts against me will not distract us as we unite and make America great again. Now, I think at the end of the day, what really disturbs me is how much power they're granting this particular judge here, this Judge Juan Merchan. Like, he's a trial judge at the end of the day.
That he couldn't show up to the sentencing in New York. The justices made a point, the 5 who ruled that this could happen, and said that it was relatively insubstantial in light of what the court is saying that they're going to do, which is to impose that sentence of unconditional discharge. And it's a brief virtual hearing. He doesn't have to be there in person tomorrow.
So this was a smart move by Judge Merchan, because he said last week, I'm going to sentence you to essentially nothing, and you can do it by Zoom. If Merchan had not done that, if he just said, appear for sentencing Friday, it'll be like any other sentencing, you don't know what you're going to get until I tell you, that might have changed the Supreme Court's calculus, because Trump's argument was, I could be subject to what we call irreparable harm. And if Trump was able to say, I don't know, maybe this guy's going to try to lock me up. Maybe he's going to impose some serious penalty. Maybe I don't have the time as president-elect to travel to New York and sit in a courtroom and go through security. Instead, Merchan absolutely minimized that.
Okay, so he appears.
I almost feel like this guy's trying to give Judge Juan Merchan a pass. Like, well, you know, he didn't say he was going to send him to jail, you know, or he said he's not going to send him to jail. He said he's not going to hit him with penalties. Oh, thank you so much, Judge Juan Merchan. You know, like, come on. This is a fake case to begin with. Let's not try to give the judge Juan Merchan like a pat on the back for lowering the slap on the wrist here. You know what I'm saying? Like, is everyone missing the ball here?
Virtually via, I'll call it Zoom. I don't even know what it is for the court system. When you get sentenced, you have an option to say something, right?
You just hit on what the biggest point is going to be to watch for tomorrow. Any defendant at sentencing absolutely has a right to speak. Almost always they do. So Trump might say, I have nothing to say, Your Honor, or he might give us a rant. I mean, I would bet on that because, look, he's got nothing to lose. He knows he's getting sentenced to nothing. So
even
watch
if he speaks before the sentencing and goes off on the judge, which he does and did tonight, that won't change how Merchan sentences him?
Merchan left himself a tiny bit of wiggle room, right? He didn't say, I promise I will sentence you. He said, I intend to sentence you. But I think it would take an awfully lot to push Merchan from sentence you to unconditional discharge to lashing out with a sentence.
All right. So comment. Let me know, guys. What do you think? Do you think if Trump were to go off on the judge during sentencing where he's allowed to actually speak, do you think when he actually speaks to Judge Juan Merchan on Friday, really in a couple of hours, do you think if Trump, Trump could literally rant because they just confirmed that Trump can speak. He can speak his piece during the sentencing. Number one, Trump's not scared. So now I'm wondering, like, all right, what's he going to say? Is he going to just say, okay, I have nothing to say, Judge, and walk out? Or is Trump going to let this trial judge have it right to his face? Look, dude, this is some bull snap. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then the question is, since Juan Merchan seems like, even though he said he's not going to sentence him to prison, he's not going to send him to jail or something like that, he's not going to hit him with fines. How much does that statement hold the judge to keeping his word? Can he change his mind at the last minute and be like, man, I don't like your attitude. You're going to jail. Just so that this trial judge can feel like he's got a lot more power than he's used to, sending the president of the United States to jail. I mean, this is New York City, guys. This is New York City. And it really wouldn't be the first time that something wild has happened to Trump in New York City. I mean, this case and the Letitia James case, the DA Alvin Bragg case, this is the DA Alvin Bragg case. I mean, I'm to a point where I don't think anything would shock me. I'm going to have to wake up extra early to keep track of what's going on here because I think it's going to have some unexpected twists on this one. Let's hear from Trump again.
About something, and they ought to find out what that's all about. And this is a long way from finished. And I respect the court's opinion. I think it was actually a very good opinion for us because you saw what they said. But they invited the appeal, and the appeal is on the bigger issue. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out well. We beat Jack Smith. He's back, I hope, at The Hague, but I don't think he should be there either. He puts people in very bad positions, like giving people death penalties. I will tell you, Jack, he is a disgrace. We won all of those cases. We won most of the other cases, or they're limping along. We've had a lot of lawfare. These are all people that understand what's going on here very badly. This was an attack on the Republican Party. This was an attack on the Republican candidate who just won an election by record numbers, the highest number of Republican votes by far ever gotten. And we won all swing states, 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by millions of people. And that was the real vote. And I said it a long time ago, the real vote is that. And they tried to stop that from happening. They tried to stop this election from happening, or to bloody somebody up so badly they couldn't win.
Oh, yeah.
And the people got it. And again, we won by the largest number. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. It was conclusive. It was a massive, they say, the most consequential election in 129 years.
Wow.
And these people, the people know everything that you're asking. They've been studying this for 2 years as it went along.
Yo, guys. Also, look at Trump. I think he got a new like spray tan person, because he's looking a lot less orange to me. It's looking more like a natural tan. Y'all let me know. Is he looking too orange? I think it's an improvement over what he was going with before. I think before was really orange. It was like, almost Robert Downey Jr. Level of darkness from Tropic Thunder. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. We're going to keep a very close watch on this. We got to make sure that they don't do President Trump too wrong from this point going forward with this Friday hearing in New York City. But let me know your thoughts, guys. What do you think? Is this fair? Is it unfair? Let me know in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Join us on Twitter. I'm gonna leave a link for you guys if you want to follow me on Twitter down below. We're growing our community over there, and we'll see you guys